In a quiet town in California, the luxury car dealership Diamond Cars stood out as a symbol of opulence and exclusivity. One day, the routine of the place was subtly disrupted by the arrival of an elderly man of modest appearance, wearing simple clothes and a weathered hat. The elderly man, with a measured stride and bright eyes, walked through the store's aisles, admiring the cars with a serene smile. The main saleswoman, Alicia Mitchell, discreetly observed him, curiosity shining in her blue eyes. Initially, she took no action, remaining focused on her affluent customers, but the constant presence of the man was starting to deeply intrigue her. Days passed, and the elderly man continued to make his presence felt, eliciting whispers and glances from other customers and employees. "Alicia, have you noticed that gentleman? He comes here every day but never says a word," remarked a colleague, John, as they both watched the elderly man gently caress the hood of a sports car. Alicia furrowed her brow and replied in a soft but uncertain voice, "Yes, I've noticed. It's strange, isn't it? He never asks anything, just looks at the cars and smiles. I wonder what brings him here." JN shrugged, an ironic smile playing on his lips. "Maybe he's dreaming of one of these, or perhaps planning a big heist," he joked. But the joke only heightened Alicia's unease. The presence of the elderly man became the main topic of conversation among the employees during their breaks. Theories were formed, bets were made, and the dealership, once only a place of high financial transactions, turned into a scene of mystery and speculation. Alicia, despite being involved in the theories, kept her distance, watching the elderly man with a mix of curiosity and caution. Her instinct told her there was more to that man than met the eye, something beyond the worn-out clothes and the tranquil smile. And as the mystery deepened, she found herself increasingly determined to uncover the secrets behind that unusual visitor. As days passed, the corridors of Diamond Cars reverberated with murmurs and suspicions. The regular patrons and the city's elite, who used to frequent the place, felt uneasy amid glances of gleaming jewelry and forced smiles. The elderly man continued his silent pilgrimage, caressing the cars and smiling to himself. Alicia's colleagues, noticing the growing discomfort of the customers, cast meaningful glances in her direction. "Alicia, something needs to be done. Mr. Griffin was here yesterday, and he didn't seem pleased with that man's presence," remarked Rebecca, an elegant saleswoman with a worried look. I know, Alicia replied, her fingers tapping on the polished surface of her desk. "But he hasn't done anything wrong. We can't just kick him out." Whispers intensified, and the atmosphere in the dealership became heavy with unspoken tension. Customers exchanged furtive and discontented glances with the elderly man and then with Alicia, as if expecting some intervention. The sophistication and glamour of Diamond Cars seemed tainted by the incongruous presence of the unassuming man, caught between the enigma the elderly man represented and the pressure to uphold the store's impeccable image. Alyssa felt increasingly distressed. "Do you think he's an industrial spy or something?" Mike asked another salesperson, half jokingly, half seriously. Alicia sighed, feeling the weight of expectations on her shoulders. "I don't know who he is, but there's something about him, something I can't quite grasp. It's like he knows a secret that we don't." The restlessness was palpable, and uncertainty hung in the air, creating a veil of mystery that enveloped everyone in the dealership. The elderly man, oblivious or indifferent to the buzz around him, continued his daily walks, while Alicia grappled with the dilemma of preserving the store's reputation or unraveling the mystery behind that enigmatic man. The elderly man, now a familiar figure, continued his daily visits, strolling among the cars and getting lost in his contemplations. His eyes sparkled with genuine contentment, as if each visit brought a silent joy to his heart. Alicia, discreetly observing him from across the room, bit her lower lip, grappling with inner turmoil. The dilemma surrounding her became increasingly complex as the presence of the elderly man raised countless unanswered questions. The scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and she wondered if she should offer him a cup, a courtesy extended to all customers. "He seems so happy just to be here," she murmured, watching the elderly man delicately caress the steering wheel of a sports car. "But what would the boss say if I treated him like a regular customer?" Beside her, John, her colleague, looked at her and said, "It's a delicate situation, Alicia. Everyone is wondering about him, but the boss wouldn't be pleased if he knew we were giving attention to someone who clearly isn't going to buy anything." John's voice reflected the underlying tension that permeated the atmosphere of the dealership. The growing discomfort of the other salespeople and the curiosity of the wealthy customers made the air almost unbearable. Alicia felt the pressure, the weight of expectations, and the questioning looks turned her way. With each passing day, she felt more torn, curiosity and empathy conflicting with the need to maintain the dealership's sophisticated image. The elderly man, oblivious to these internal struggles, continued to smile, the joy in his eyes deepening the mystery of his presence. Alicia, with a resigned sigh, stepped away, leaving the scent of coffee and unanswered questions hanging in the air. Until, on a particular day, the atmosphere became even more charged with the visit of the store owner, Mr. Griffin. His footsteps echoed on the marble floor as his eyes scanned the room with a scrutinizing gaze. When he noticed the presence of the elderly man, his eyebrows furrowed in displeasure. "Alicia," he called out with a firm and authoritative voice, "come here. We need to talk." Alicia approached, her heart beating rapidly, realizing that the situation had reached a critical point. Mr. Griffin discreetly pointed at the elderly man. "Who is that man, and why is he here? I've seen him several times, and it's affecting the image of our store." Alicia hesitated, her mouth dry. "He hasn't done anything wrong, Mr. Griffin. He's just admiring the cars." "That is unacceptable," Mr. Griffin cut in, his eyes flashing. "I want him to leave immediately. This is a luxury dealership, not a museum for onlookers." With a heavy heart and a lump in her throat, Alicia approached the elderly man. "Sir," she began, her voice trembling, "I'm very sorry, but I need to ask you to leave the store. We are receiving complaints." The elderly man, with his eyes gleaming and a kind smile on his lips, looked at Alicia in surprise. "Oh, I see, my dear. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I'm just admiring these marvels." Alicia felt a twinge of guilt as she watched the elderly man slowly walk away, his hunched figure disappearing through the automatic doors. Mr. Griffin looked on, satisfied, but in Alicia's eyes, a spark of questioning and doubt had been ignited. As he crossed the threshold of the luxurious dealership, the elderly man cast one last look at the metallic gleam of the cars, then fixed his gentle eyes on Alicia. The sophisticated atmosphere and the indistinct murmurs of the affluent customers formed a stark contrast with the simplicity of his attire and the serenity of his countenance. "My young lady," he said, his voice tinged with a warmth that seemed to defy the coldness of the surroundings. "I want to thank you for your patience with me. I know it wasn't your decision to ask me to leave, and I understand the demands of your job." Alicia felt the blush on her cheeks, and the words seemed to be stuck in her throat. There was something in that gaze, something in that voice that made her question the appearances and values that guided that world of luxury. I'm sorry, sir. I hope you understand that," he interrupted her with a gentle wave of his hand. "Don't worry, my dear. I understand perfectly. But I want you to know that I won't forget your kindness." With a smile that lit up his wrinkled features, the elderly man walked away, leaving Alicia immersed in thoughts and conjectures. The words of the elderly man resonated in her mind as she watched his figure recede among the passers-by on the bustling avenue. "I won't forget your kindness." The phrase was like an incessant echo, awakening in Alicia an insatiable curiosity about the true identity of that man and the reason for his visits. As she returned to the interior of the store, Alicia cast furtive glances in the direction where the elderly man had disappeared, a feeling of restlessness and questioning growing in her chest. What did he want? Who was he really? And why did his words affect her so deeply? The mysteries surrounding the elderly man became a growing flame in her soul, and Alicia knew that somehow their destinies were inexorably intertwined. As days went by, the decrease in sales to almost zero was noticeable, and the desperation of the employees was imminent. Alicia, standing next to one of the cars, watched the street's activity, her thoughts clouded by restlessness. Her co-workers, with tense expressions, exchanged glances and murmured among themselves, the pressure to bring in more business intensifying with each passing day. "I don't understand," remarked Mark, one of the salesmen with a furrowed brow. "It's like we've been forgotten overnight." Alicia nodded, biting her lower lip. "I'm worried too. If we continue like this, I don't know how our financial situation will be." Alicia's concern about her job and financial stability was growing exponentially. She found herself staring at the spot where the elderly man had disappeared, his words still echoing in her mind as if they were an omen of difficult times ahead. With each customer who entered and left without making a purchase, apprehension deepened in the hearts of the salespeople. Goals once easily achieved now seemed insurmountable mountains, and the fear of what the future held was reflected in the eyes of every employee. Behind-the-scenes meetings became more frequent, and voices grew louder. "We need to do something," management urged, but the solution to the inexplicable distancing of customers remained an enigma. Amidst it all, Alicia stood firm, her eyes lost in the distance, her thoughts focused on the elderly man's serene smile and the words that had left an indelible mark on her heart. After 3 long, intense weeks of declining sales, the air in the dealership was saturated with uncertainty and apprehension. A formal invitation to an urgent meeting sent by the owner, Mr. Griffin, reached the hands of the employees. Hearts were pounding, and murmurs spread throughout the space as Alicia and her colleagues gathered in the main hall among the cars that seemed less gleaming on that gray day. Mr. Griffin, a middle-aged man always impeccably dressed, stepped onto the makeshift stage, cleared his throat, and began to speak with a gravely serious tone. "I have difficult news," he announced, his voice cutting through the tense silence. "The dealership is facing an unsustainable financial situation. We have had to make the painful decision to sell the establishment." A murmur of disbelief and despair flooded the room. Alicia felt a lump in her throat, her stomach tightening with the bleak prospect that was unfolding. "But what will happen to us?" one of the salespeople questioned, their voice trembling. Mr. Griffin looked at the employees, and for a moment, Alicia thought she saw a glint of guilt in his eyes. "I deeply regret to inform you that due to the bankruptcy declaration, it will not be possible to pay pending salaries or any severance." The shock was palpable, expressions of dismay and anger mingled among the employees. Alicia felt the injustice burning in her chest, the revelation of a legal loophole allowing such an act only deepening the indignation. "This is not fair. We worked hard for this company," exclaimed Mark, fists clenched. Alicia, though shaken, tried to maintain her composure. "How could you? We trusted you, Mr. Griffin," she confronted him, her voice filled with disappointment. Mr. Griffin lowered his gaze, avoiding the accusing stares of his employees. "I'm so sorry. I truly am." The employees left the meeting with the weight of uncertainty on their shoulders, revolt simmering in their hearts. And Alicia, more than ever, questioned the role of the mysterious elderly man in this tragic outcome. On that day, as Alicia headed home, she noticed that the road had never seemed so long, and her thoughts had never been so cloudy. Every traffic light, every stop, made her reflect on how she would support her family, on the bills that would pile up, the rent, the school expenses. Upon arriving home, the atmosphere was heavy, the lights seemed less bright, and her daughter Emily's smile couldn't dispel the storm in her heart. "Mommy, how was your day?" the little one asked, her innocent eyes searching for Alicia's. Alicia forced a smile, stroking her daughter's curls. "It was a tough day, dear, but we'll be okay," she replied, trying to hide the pain in her voice. The night went on, and while Emily slept, Alicia surfed the internet, searching for news about the dealership sale. And then, like a punch to the gut, a headline caught her attention: "Bankrupt dealership owner profits from luxury car sale." Rage welled up inside her like a storm. How could he? Alicia muttered, her fingers gripping the edge of the table. She continued to read, discovering that despite declaring bankruptcy and leaving his employees in misery, Mr. Griffin had made a profitable deal selling a luxury car for an exorbitant price. The injustice of what had happened fueled a fire within Alicia. She felt betrayed, used, and discarded by someone who had pretended to care about his employees. But more than that, she wondered if there was more to the story, something involving the mysterious elderly man who had visited the dealership. Alicia spent the night tossing and turning, running through possibilities in her mind, determined to uncover the truth behind Mr. Griffin's actions and the role of the elderly man in the downfall of the dealership. Amidst that emotional turmoil, a glimmer of light appeared in Alicia's life. An unexpected message popped up on her cell phone, sent from an unknown number. It was an invitation to a meeting at the dealership, now under new management. Alicia's eyes widened, her heart beating fast. Could this be a sign of hope? "Hello, this is John Miller, the new manager of premium luxury cars. We would like to invite you to a meeting to discuss the future of the dealership. Your presence would be highly appreciated." The message was straightforward, but something in it sparked a glimmer of hope in Alicia. Despite having been let go, curiosity and the need for stability led her to decide to go. Maybe there's a chance of being rehired, she thought as she dressed for the meeting, trying to conceal her nervousness and anxiety. Upon arriving at the dealership, Alicia noticed a different atmosphere. The air was lighter, there was a buzz of anticipation among the present employees. The somber mood had dissipated, giving way to an atmosphere of anticipation and curiosity. What's going to happen? Her former colleagues wondered, exchanging knowing and hopeful glances. Seated in a chair, Alicia looked around, her heart pounding. Then, the new manager, John Miller, a man with a firm posture and a determined gaze, entered the room, bringing an aura of confidence and determination with him. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We have many topics to discuss about the future of this store and the role each of you will play in it," he announced, looking into the eyes of every employee. Alicia felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. What did the future hold for her and her colleagues? Would this meeting be the beginning of a new journey or merely a final chapter of goodbyes? The only certainty was that Alicia was determined to find out, to fight for her place, and to unravel the mysteries surrounding the dealership and the enigmatic elderly man. Following the meeting, the atmosphere in the room was filled with anticipation. Employees, eager and curious, exchanged glances as John Miller prepared to reveal the plans of the new owner. Curiosity reached its peak when, unexpectedly, the door opened, and the elderly man previously expelled entered the room with a serene smile on his face. A murmur of surprise and recognition swept through the room. Alicia, incredulous, stared at the man before her, her mind spinning in confusion and relief. The elderly man raised his hand, requesting silence, and began to speak with a firm yet gentle voice. "My name is Isaiah Blake, and I am the new owner of this dealership," he revealed, looking affectionately at Alicia. "I came here initially to evaluate the service and the atmosphere of the store, but I ended up witnessing something more, the kindness and patience of a saleswoman who, even under pressure, showed respect and compassion." Alicia's heart raced as she absorbed Isaiah's words. The room was in respectful silence, all eyes on the prosperous elderly businessman who continued. "My visits revealed to me not only the quality of the cars, but also the quality of the people who work here. I have decided to purchase this dealership to implement significant changes and to value those who truly make a difference." Alicia felt a wave of relief and gratitude. Isaiah's gaze conveyed sincerity and appreciation. The employees, excited, began to talk among themselves, discussing possible changes in the promising future under the new leadership. Isaiah walked over to Alicia, extending his hand. "Alicia, your kindness did not go unnoticed. You are an example that even in an environment of luxury and sophistication, humanity and respect for others are essential." With tears in her eyes, Alicia shook Isaiah's hand, feeling a mixture of surprise, happiness, and hope. She realized that despite deceptive appearances and challenges, kindness and sincerity would always be recognized and valued. And so, a new chapter began for Alicia and her colleagues in the reborn dealership. Isaiah Blake looked at the group of eager employees and let out a subtle smile. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and he knew that what he was about to reveal would surprise them. In fact, he began, his serene voice filling the space. "My initial intention was to acquire this dealership at its market value. I've always seen great potential here." His eyes met Alicia's, and she noticed a spark of cunning in them. "However, the day I was invited to leave changed everything." A murmur of surprise swept through the room. Alicia could feel her heart beating faster while the other employees exchanged incredulous glances. Isaiah continued, "As some of you may know, I have some influence in the high society of this city." The room filled with murmurs and expressions of understanding. Alicia, like the others, began to piece together the puzzle. Isaiah had used his connections to influence the situation in his favor. "I made some calls, talked to influential friends, and suggested that perhaps this was not the best dealership to do business with." Isaiah's smile was almost imperceptible, but the gleam in his eyes revealed his satisfaction. This, of course, resulted in a significant decrease in customers and, consequently, in the value of the dealership. The employees were silent, absorbing the revelation. Isaiah had orchestrated an impressive turnaround, ensuring the acquisition of the store at a much lower price. So Isaiah said, standing up, "I managed to buy the store at a more affordable price, and of course, it was essential for me to bring back all of you, dedicated and talented employees." Relief and gratitude filled the room, and smiles began to form on the faces of the employees. Alicia felt a mixture of admiration and respect for Isaiah. Not only had he recognized the value of the team, but he had also demonstrated unparalleled shrewdness and insight in the world of business. As days went by under Isaiah Blake's skillful management and innovative vision, the dealership flourished as never before. The glow of lights reflected on the luxurious cars, and a constant buzz of satisfied customers and successful deals filled the atmosphere. The change was noticeable, and everyone in the store felt a renewed wave of optimism and purpose. Alicia walked through the store's corridors, now as a manager, with newfound confidence in her steps and a determined gleam in her eyes. "I never imagined things could change so quickly and for the better," she commented in a meeting with the team, who responded with nods and smiles of agreement. Isaiah, watching from his office, felt genuine satisfaction. He had not only transformed the dealership into a prosperous business, but also created a work environment where every employee felt valued and respected. Kindness and honesty are the pillars of any successful enterprise, he would assert in his conversations with the team. Alicia's colleagues, now working in a positive and motivating environment, were inspired by Isaiah's leadership and Alicia's well-deserved promotion. They shared stories and reflections on how appearances can be deceiving and how it is essential to treat everyone with respect and dignity. "We've learned a valuable lesson," one of the salespeople said, as everyone agreed. "Never underestimate someone based on their appearances, and always be kind. You never know what the future holds." The elderly man, now recognized as the prosperous businessman he truly was, actively participated in the store's activities. Always emphasizing the importance of solid values and principles in business, his presence was a constant reminder to everyone at the dealership that true wealth lies in character and integrity. Over time, the dealership became more than just a place for selling luxury cars. It turned into a space for professional and personal growth, where each team member had an inspiring story to tell thanks to the wisdom and generosity of a man who saw beyond appearances and recognized the value of kindness and honesty. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.